Well, hello. Every gal needs a cowboy hat.
Scanning the room, you look for a familiar face. Everyone is a stranger. Your heart's racing, you feel nauseous. New plan. You meet 4 new people. Okay, 3. 2. You can handle 2. And then you think, I hate this. This just feels so fake. And before you talk to even 1 new person, you're looking for the nearest exit.
Okay. Crazy. Yo, who invited this chick?
My heart races when I walk into a room full of strangers too. Except it's not anxiety, it's excitement. I'm not thinking networking quota. I'm thinking, look at all these stories. And I get so pumped about talking to people that I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the show today. I'm very excited because this is a very special guest for me. This is someone who had such big impact on my life. And for those of you that may be new to the show or haven't seen my show, I talk about curiosity as well as my 3-step process, which is behind me. Sign up, suit up, and show up. And a lot of things in our lives stem often from people in our lives, experiences in our lives that have an impact. And my guest today is definitely someone who had a major impact because I'm currently known, I talk about that I'm a recovering journalist. And my journalism career and the idea for going into journalism started because of this guest. So we're going to talk a little bit about going back to my high school days and also leading up to current day, because my guest today, Dan Barrett, is someone who definitely embraces the idea of curiosity. Every day he embraces that. So I'm going to now bring him on stage and welcome him. Here we are. I remember those cartoons. I remember you drawing those.
Oh, yeah. His name was George.
George of the jungle. I often break out into songs, so be aware. So welcome. I encourage anyone to drop a comment. I know that I had posted about this in Facebook. Unfortunately, I'm not, it's not live on Facebook, but we're live on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. So there you go. Look what has changed in our lives. Remember, from manual typewriters, developing photos in a dark room, and here we are live streaming. So this is your first live stream?
Me? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
I use Zoom once in a while.
Yep.
Talk to my children.
Well, just a bit of a scene setter. I normally don't like to focus on age, but let's address this head on. You were 93.
39, yep.
Yeah, 39 if you're dyslexic. So at 93, what are some of the things about curiosity, and what are the things that keep you going? And then we'll get into, because obviously we're going to talk about the yearbook days and high school days, but let's start with where you're at now and how. Normally I ask this at the end, but let's start right off out of the gate about how you exercise your curious mind.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's very easy. I have been retired for 33 years, and I have involved myself in a lot of genealogy. I did genealogy for myself and for relatives and friends and that sort of thing. So that's kept me busy, kept me thinking about things, kept my mind active, solving problems. And so that was good. I also was leading a Bible study class at the church before COVID. And of course, when COVID came along, I had to quit. So I kept making assignment sheets and sending them out by email. So now I have over 100 pages that I can send out by email. I call it Bible study by email. So those two things keep me busy.
That is cool. And you also send a photo each day.
Oh,
we
yes. Pick of the day. Yeah, that's right.
pick of the day. So tell me a little bit about that for people, about why you do it and any reaction you get. So you send, I've been just starting to get those photos, and definitely, you know, I look at it and go, oh, I have some questions about this. And you provide a little bit of explanation sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a picture of anything that I have. I've always been interested in photography. And so if I go places, I take pictures. Some people send me pictures and I use those. I don't send out pictures of people, but places and the canal and Niagara River and Toronto or wherever I've been. And a lot of people like it. People tell me that they like to get my photos every day. So it's kind of a hobby.
Right. And what are some things for people listening in? You know, this just came out recently. Someone that was around 60-ish was talking about being old. And I said, hey, wait a minute. I have someone on tomorrow who's 93. So what are your thoughts on that about aging, and what recommendations would you give to people about how to, I guess, thrive into your 90s and beyond?
Yeah. I feel very fortunate that I'm living as long as I am. I take advantage of every day, and I walk every day. In the wintertime, I go to the mall and walk in the mall. I have a walker, so I push that. And I do some exercises every day and try to keep alert. And maybe it's paying off, hopefully.
It sounds like it is. I mean, we had a brief chat the other day, but yeah, I mean, your recall of things and memories and your obviously we've had a few conversations, and if I didn't know better, I wouldn't have put 93 at your age. So
Thank you.
That's quite remarkable. So okay, let's get into now. I'm sure there might be people want to know about. Let's go back in time because, as I mentioned, it was because of your journalism class, and I tell this story, so that's why I was so excited when you reconnected with me. You sent the email because I was trying to find you, but because you're not on social, I couldn't find you anywhere, and I'm like,
well, it wasn't Haydn, just Mendelssohn.
Yeah. So we reconnected, and so I'd like to go back to those days that and the story I tell around you starting up the journalism course. So can you give a bit of background, because you were doing the yearbook, but can maybe explain to people how you got creative, and I'm sure used some curiosity as well.
Yeah. Yes, we were doing the yearbook, and of course it was all after school. And there was many nights we were still at school at 4:30 and 5 o'clock doing yearbook. And I can't remember whether I did yearbook before Grimsby High School or not, but it doesn't matter. But being interested in photography and that sort of stuff, it all fit in together. And so we were, as I said, doing the yearbook after school. And one day I thought, well, gee, this will make a good course for a credit. So I went to the principal and I explained that just what I've told you, and that would be a good thing. And he thought for a minute and he said, well, as long as you'll teach newspaper writing too, we could do it. So that was really new to me. But we started, and fortunately, there was a newspaper in Grimsby, a local newspaper, and the editor would come and visit us and talk to you folks. And then besides that, the big thing was that when the students were writing articles for the newspaper, they got printed in the newspaper. So they could see their article in live print in the Grimsby newspaper. And as I said, photography was a good thing too. because we were all, those of us that were working on the yearbook, were collecting photos and taking photos. And if I remember correctly, I think some of you even got a chance to go down to the dark room in the lower part of the school and print some pictures. So yeah, well, you did. Yeah. Well, I know some of the others did too. So it really involved a lot of good things, and writing and photography and organizing. And so it really paid off.
And even selling, because I can remember part of our task was to sell some ads for the yearbook. And it just jogged my memory when I was going back looking through, because I can remember going out and selling ads for the yearbook. So.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'd forgot about that.
Yeah, that was.
I forgot a lot of things.
It was such a well-rounded course. And we talked about this too, that it did give a lot of us some experience writing for the local paper. And I remember Phil Deckman, who was the editor of the Grimsby Independent. I do remember I had a connection with him as well, because he reached out, and I don't know if you remember this, he reached out to ask you or me directly about, they needed someone to cover at the time the Junior B Peach Kings. And I ended up going, and there was a little bit of pushback, because here was this girl that they were putting forward. But I still remember this. Phil said to the organizing group, he said, well, either Gail covers the hockey or you don't get hockey in the paper, your choice. So that was my first really big lesson about journalism. You don't have to know. Like, I knew nothing about hockey, but I found people who did know, and I'd ask them questions. So eventually I was writing articles, and people thought I was quite the expert in hockey, even though I just found people to help me. So
that's good.
So let's look at, I do want to share, let me find, there was a few comments, because I did post this in Facebook, and one person that I know through Facebook as well as Twitter and LinkedIn is Shauna Bruce. And Shauna used to be Shauna Jackson, and she was the president of Students Council while I was yearbook editor. So we used to cross paths. And isn't this amazing that now, so many years later, we're crossing paths through journalism, public relations. So
yeah, that's right.
Let me post what she wrote this I think it was in the Facebook group. She goes, I remember in that journalism class, he taught us how to write a lead paragraph for a news story with the who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Oh, yeah.
And here, the next part, she says, and now, 41 years later, I'm still using this formula to teach crisis communications workshops. But it all started with Mr. Barrett in grade 11.
Oh, very nice.
So I share that because sometimes a lot of people don't realize the impact they have on people. And I also believe there are no accidents of how we've reconnected, how I'm doing my show, and how there's myself as well as Shauna, and other people are posting on Facebook as well. So I know at some point some people on Facebook may be watching this. So here's another comment, because you also taught other courses. You taught math, and what else did you teach?
Mostly math.
Mostly math. Okay. So we have this student who wrote, Janice Mercury Thurley. She wrote, he was a great math teacher, strict, but kind, patient, and explained things.
I had to be strict or else go crazy myself.
Well, we need, you know what, I call it boundaries. We need to have teachers who have that, but you were definitely, I would say for sure, kind. You had a great sense of humor. Well, I have a photo I think I may post, because there was one photo of where in the journalism class with Sharon Herbert, and there's a snowball, and you were, I don't know, we were goofing around in the class. We had some fun. That was when there was only, I think, that was by grade 12. I think we were down to we lost a lot of people from grade 11 to 12, only because they had different goals. But that's why sometimes it's not just numbers, it's right. So, and Sharon is now working in library world. She works at a library. So, and then we have Catherine said, he was the only math teacher I understood. Contributor is a Facebook line. Oh, and here's another comment. Michelle Owen Krause. I remember having him teach a math class for decorating. He asked to keep my notebook for future teachers. He said it was the most organized and complete notebook he'd ever seen. So
Very good.
And that's amazing when you're, because that's very positive for a student to get that kind of feedback as well.
Yeah.
So let's now look at, I want to pull up maybe a couple of photos so people can also see what, now I don't even know, it's interesting. I didn't really look up what's happening in the world of yearbooks in 2023 and beyond. I don't even know if they do many yearbooks anymore.
Don't know.
Well, maybe if someone can comment, does anybody, here's, so this is Elizabeth. She's someone I met through networking, connecting. She has her own marketing company, very good friend of mine as well, Elizabeth. She said, great guest today, Gail. I had a few minutes before my appointment. Love the pick of the day idea. There you go. That is,
Very good.
Now you're doing it by email, but people do similar things sometimes on social media, but not everybody's on social media. So I like that probably for a lot of people, email is how you communicate with a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah. And you're not on any social media, right? Nothing.
No, actually, I should be, but I'm not.
Well, you know what?
Too complicated. You got to keep things simple when you're 39.
And for those of you listening, so the 39 statement is kind of funny because the very first email out of the blue I got from, I still call you Mr. Barrett. It's funny. It's hard to call you Dan. As
long as you don't call me too late for supper.
So when I got the email from you, you said, hi, it was like blast from the past, whatever. And you said, hi, this is, I'm now 39. And then, so the email, I was like, well, it sounded like it might be you. But then when you said the 39, I'm like, is this? And I remember my son was here and I'm like, I don't know. I wonder if this is like spam. Is it something? But something said, well, I'll respond carefully. So I responded and then I found out you had said 39 instead of 93. So that's the in joke now that we have that Mr. Barrett is 30.
Very good.
So, okay, let's put up a couple of the yearbook photos just again for anybody that I'm going to share my screen. So, and the other thing I want to tell everyone too is that tomorrow I'm on a show as a guest where I'll be talking about how I use live streaming, the importance of live streaming for your business. I work in manufacturing. And we'll get to some manufacturing stories. So stay tuned. After we look at some yearbook photos, we're going to come back around. And I'd like to talk to Mr. Barrett about how his background in manufacturing and how we're kind of coming 360 in our world right now. So, okay, let's share screen. I'm going to pull up a photo here. So this was our various editors. Now, Shauna is here. So Shauna is in, for those you can see, is about the third to my right. So here's me as that editor. And then Shauna Jackson. So I don't know if you remember, that was Shauna. And what's interesting in, there's another photo. Let me go back to this one. There's Mike Harvey. I still see Mike Harvey on Facebook, and he's now with the RCMP. Don't know if he's retired, but and who else here do I still? Lisa Thurgood. We're also friends on Facebook as well. So, and this was the whole crew of the yearbook staff.
Very good.
Here's me when I was editor. That must have been the 1982. There I am with my short hair. For people that haven't seen me with short hair, I often say to people, I used to have really short hair, and they don't believe me. So, yeah, that was us. That's my editor pose. So, now I'd be taking a selfie if we were doing it now.
Very good.
And here's a picture of Mr. Barrett from, that was before I was involved. Now, I'm just looking, I'm going to see if I can pull up another photo of, oh, here we go. Let me see if I can do that. There we go. Can you see this one? This is, let's see if I have the right one up. No, wait a minute. Did you see this photo? Oh, wait a minute. There we go. I don't think so. That's the one of you with, that was before I think I got involved with the yearbook. I don't think we showed, just a minute. I'm going to, there we go. There's me. There's me with, and I was saying that would have been the pose. Now I'd be doing a selfie of me sitting at the desk. So that was the official editor's pose.
Very good.
This one, now this was back when we had, this was Shauna and, Sharon and Georgia. And even then, see, we had that good sense of humor. This was a photo from the yearbook that says, you meant the deadline was yesterday, and that's us having some fun. So we did have many a laugh. I remember it. It's amazing how, memories work, how things come back to you. Because I remember that so clearly about the, was that, and there was the snowball incident in the classroom, and yeah. Good times. Okay, so let's go ahead now to any other comments that you'd like to make of those days, those journalism days?
Not that I can remember. That's a problem for me too.
Yeah.
Back that far. I really appreciated the gang that worked on the yearbook, and we all worked together. We never seemed to have any problems, and we all did a lot of work, and it was really gratifying. I always enjoyed teaching. I have no regrets that I was a teacher. It was like to work with young people, and it really paid off. In fact, when they came to make me retire, because they had so many young teachers coming along, I didn't want to retire. I wasn't ready to retire, so I stayed 2 more years and finished up some work I was doing, and then I took leave.
Yeah, it was, well, what's interesting too is, the impact, and I'm always very aware of, every action has a reaction, and, to have, and it's too bad. And probably for a future show, I will be talking about changes in education. And certainly it's very sad now that there's so many different rules in place. If you recall back in the day, you drove us in your car when we were the small class to Toronto for a tour of newspapers. That had such an impact on me in terms of career decisions.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. And even staying after school late, I can remember a couple of times you would even drop me off at home now that wouldn't even be allowed to happen. And
Right.
That's what's sad about, there's a lot of things that students don't have that same rapport with teachers now because of some of these new rules, and it's just too bad.
Yeah. I often thought I'd like to go back into a school just to walk around and see what it's like, because I haven't been in one for quite a number of years. I'm sure I'd see some differences.
A lot of differences. And I think, as I said, I know I'll probably be talking about this because I know some teachers, and there's teachers now that are wanting to get out of teaching, and sadly, because of what's happening in our school system right now.
Right. That's too bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's again, it goes back to the impact, right, that many people have.
Yeah.
So now my show, often I have people on that talk about manufacturing. So we'll get to the manufacturing side of things, because this was something I wasn't aware of. Before we go on, I do want to welcome a guest here over on YouTube. Speaking of someone who has an impact on my life as well, inspiration from Inger. Inger and I met through online networking. Inger has done some work for me as well as with me. And she says, happy Thursday, Gail and Mr. Barrett. So welcome, Inger. Thank you for stopping by. I'm thinking Inger probably heard a few stories about my back in the day times, probably more than she cares to even remember. But thanks for stopping by, Inger, because I know Inger also understands. She talks a lot about in her show. She has a couple of live shows. So talking about live streaming, she has a show on Wednesday called Wonder Women Wednesday. And then she does an inspirations show on Fridays. And that might be, if you ever connect up on YouTube, you might like to check out her show on Friday because she talks about the power of connection as well as the power of faith. So it's nice to see. I love when Elizabeth as well, you know, and it's interesting, a couple people that have commented so far are people that do represent community, represent the power of connecting, the power of faith in our lives. So all important things to thrive. Here she wrote this. She goes, my pleasure. Happy to be here. Yes, I remember the story of how Mr. Barrett ignited the fire within you. Yeah, I just want to leave that there because, So thank you again. If I want to say, and I know you've heard me say this, but it really made my heart happy that we've reconnected. So
Very good. It's been a pleasure.
Now let's talk a little bit about manufacturing and how a little bit of your backstory before you got into teaching. So can you maybe share what you've done before teaching?
Well, I worked 10 years in industry. 9 of those years was at Atlas Steels in Welland. And in that period of time, I had 9 jobs in 9 years. So I had quite a varied experience with the manufacturing of steel at Atlas. And it taught me a lot of things. It taught me what employers expect from their employees, and it taught me safety and a great many things which I used later in life because I was still teaching when co-op came about. And so I was very instrumental in creating a co-op program in Lincoln County. And so the industry experience paid off because I knew what employers expected. I knew what employees expected from their employers. And it gave me a real basis for knowing how to instruct students when they're going out for co-op. So I've really enjoyed my life.
So let's talk a little bit more about the idea of co-op, because we also talked about this, about how I said it's almost like we've come to this full circle, the 360 back to there's a lot of schools, a lot of manufacturers now are lobbying again for getting shops back in the classes, because we've kind of now gone down the road to a certain degree with education where there's a big push for going into more, the academic side of things, going to post-secondary without looking at, apprenticeships and some of the trades.
Well, I was surprised when you told me that the other day. Of course, I had no way of knowing. The shops were always very beneficial for students. I wouldn't downplay them at all. I think they learn things in the shop that they wouldn't have learned in an academic classroom. And so co-op was very instrumental in letting students know what was expected of them when they got out in jobs. We were always very careful to select good employers, and then we were always very cautious about giving them suitable students, so that a student, if he misbehaved or didn't attend regularly on his co-op, could ruin a employer for us. Employer might say, well, I don't want to come. I don't want to take any more of your students. But so we were very careful in lining up employers and giving them students that would appreciate what they were going to get. So it was a very beneficial thing. I thought it was one of the best things in secondary education was co-op. And I guess if I remember correctly, we'd have 35 or 40 kids out each semester. And it was very gratifying for them. And it was for me to see these kids get out into the community and learn things, and also learn to appreciate being employed.
That's
Well, I can tell you about two girls. I had two girls that were in grade 11, and they both wanted to get out. They were very eager to get out and be a, what do you call it? Where they look after animals.
Oh, a vet's like a vet.
Yeah, veterinarian. They wanted to be veterinarians. They were really sold on being veterinarians. I guess they like dogs and they like cats, and so that made them want to become a vet. Anyway, they came to me and said that they would like to go out and work with a veterinarian for a while. So I lined them up with two different vets, and the two girls went out and started to work. Well, it was only about a month and a half, and they both came back to me at different times, and it said they don't want to be a vet. They'd had enough. They thought it was going to be like this and that, but it wasn't. So, okay, fine. Well, I didn't let them off their job. They had to finish the term, because I knew darn well that if I let them off, they'd go someplace else and it would be fine, but it wouldn't leave a good flavor in the mouth of the employer, and it wouldn't do them much good to be able to quit the job so quickly. So look what it did for them. It saved them a lot of money. They would have gone to finished their high school. They would have gone to university to be a vet, and then found out after spending thousands of dollars on education that they didn't like their job. So co-op was good in that way too, as well as giving boys and girls a positive feel for an occupation.
You know, that is likely one of the best promotions, I think, for co-op as well as apprenticeships. And we have something in, I know, the public board here called SHISM, SH. I'll never remember what it means, but they in high school they send kids out to do similar, like it's like pre-co-op, and one of the things they talk about is that often it's not just about students going out and finding out what they want to do. It's about realizing what they don't want, because how many kids have gone through all the way through university, get out and work and go, I hate this. Whereas, you know, like I thought at one point I wanted, because I going to nursing, and then my grandmother was in the hospital. I spent time in the, and I was like, nope, don't want to do that. Just everything, the smells, the watching what nurses did. I'm like, no way, no way. And I got to say, after going on some, I was always that parent that went on just about every school trip each year until my son was in high school. And that's when I realized, yeah, thank God I wasn't a teacher. I mean, that's also a skill set that I don't have.
Yeah, it's a good thing to find out.
Yes, and even though it wasn't that class in high school, like thankfully that's interesting too, that principal had that perspective to sort of say, give you the green light to do that. But here's the key. What was the other, do you remember the key part of how you managed to get that sold?
No,
You did it
Forgot
on your
about that.
you did it on your own time.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
was your spare that normally you'd be using for marking and you used it, which is, I always thought though it was very clever because you wanted to help out with the yearbook, and why not get students to do it during school time as well?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Good skills to learn.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Inger, who is the mother to three beautiful girls, she said co-op is such an important part of high school. Definitely helps parents save money. Yes.
That's good.
I think that is a key point. You know, one of the things in the work that I do is that, you know, it is about encouraging apprenticeships as well, because not every student is cut out to go on to follow an academic path,
That's right.
university. It's just not for everybody, and it also costs a lot of money. Whereas, so did you see that? Any other stories you have? That was a great story about those two girls. I love that, because you might think, oh, I want to be a vet to just cuddle dogs all day, and well, that's not what you're going to be doing.
No. Well, I had another one that I remember. His name was Danny, by the way. And I was teaching a basic level mathematics. And Danny would come to school on Thursday and Friday and do the work for the whole week. He certainly had intelligence, but he just didn't have a very good idea about attending school. So he wanted to do co-op. And I said, well, I can't really send you out. I said, because of your poor attendance at school, I said, you haven't learned to face up to the job daily. And I says, if I put you out with an auto mechanic, I'll probably won't be able to use that auto mechanic again, because they will not want you not being there every day, every hour. So I put him off. In fact, I put him off for 2 years. And finally, in his last semester, I said, okay, Dan, you want to go out and co-op? I'll get you a good job. Well, he went, he was there every day, and he got a job there. So he stayed right with the same employer that he had co-op. He stayed and worked full time. So there you go. Works.
Wow. Another good story that really points to the value of having what we talked about, boundaries and setting some rules. And I think, I'm going to sound curmudgeonly now when I say this, but I think that's what's missing sometime. And it's not the teachers right now. I'll tell you, what the issue is. Most teachers I speak to say it's the parents that are often the ones causing more problems, because they're the ones going in. They're either it's hard. I think that's one of the more difficult things for teachers, is managing that role between setting guidelines for teachers and parents complaining that they're being, too hard on their children. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
I think I learned the most from teachers who had more of those boundaries.
I can remember, I can really remember back to going to high school. But we used to sort of pat ourselves on the back because we only were absent 1 day or 2 days at the most in a whole semester. And it seems like what I see now is parents taking their children on trips in the middle of the week, taking their children out of school for a trip, which is fine. The trips is a good idea, but I don't feel they're instilling in their children the fact that attendance on a job is absolutely necessary. So maybe that's one of the differences today. But I see lots of kids out of school on school days.
And, this is now, I had a situation with a teacher who and here's the difference. I think if you're going to take your child on a trip, I went to one teacher and asked for the schoolwork, and then I was going to, I mean, part of being away though, we would do some schoolwork, but it was also going to be doing geography, looking at, you know, where we were traveling to. We were going to be doing some study work, right? Now, she still didn't like the idea. And I think that's that balance of, if you're going, and I always tell my son this too, if you're going to do something, go and communicate and set up a plan, as opposed to, and I think we may be agreeing on this, because I don't think you should just pull your child for no reason. But sometimes if you're going on a trip and it's going to be adding to their education, but that's where you work with the teacher too.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Because there's, I know there's many benefits, but this is probably the exception. I think some parents, it's more like, the kid, I mean, yeah, sometimes just because they don't want to go to school as opposed to, but I love that story of the student with the co-op, because, and that you didn't just, because relationships matter.
Sure.
And if you burn a relationship, it's very hard to get it back on track.
Sure.
I just want to read something else from Shauna. Shauna is actually really wanted to be here today. And I was actually hoping maybe to have her come on screen, but she is driving to a meeting. She's out in, I'm thinking she's Alberta, but it may be, I got to find out exactly where she's based out of. But anyways, because, you know, when you know somebody from social now, I'm like, what province is she in? I know there's a 2-hour time difference, so it might. So anyways, I want to read. She wrote this post on LinkedIn. She said, I am sad to miss this and your discussion with Mr. Dan Barrett, our high school teacher, live today. Mr. Barrett guided us both on different journeys in communication stemming from his high school journalism class at Grimsby Secondary School. Gail was the yearbook editor and went on to have a career in journalism. She calls herself a recovering journalist. I went on a different path, meaning Shauna. She goes, I went on a different path in public relations and the Army, but we both learned the basics from an enthusiastic teacher with an innovative approach to teaching young minds. Lessons from our mentors stay with us and shape who we are today. And then she asked this question on LinkedIn. Have you had a good teacher or mentor that helped guide your career path? Tell us about them in the comments below. I'm telling about it on my live stream here, which will then be shared, and it's going to live on YouTube. So I will send you the link. You might want to share this also with your family and because you have, now let's go through a little bit. You have how many children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren?
That's all.
Okay. Gonna stop there. Are you close to any great? Are you at that getting close there?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have 15 great-grandchildren.
Do any of them, so any of the great-grandchildren, are they getting close to having children yet?
Oh, no, they're pretty young. Yeah,
Okay.
The oldest would be about 13.
Okay, we got, well, when you live into your hundreds that you're planning to do, you're going to see great. Okay.
Yeah, I had 3 children and they're all married, and I have 8 grandchildren and 6 of them are married. And I think I told you my grandchildren go from Nova Scotia to British Columbia. So I thought maybe this summer, if the smoke stopped, that I just drive across the country and visit them all. So yeah, and then I have 15 great-grandchildren. So then they come to visit me, and when they come, there's 4 little Volkswagens on my TV stand there, and they know they can play with the 4 Volkswagens, but nothing else. So that's great. It's great to have them. In fact, I was out with one of the families Monday night. We met at Grimsby, at Swiss Chalet in Grimsby, and there we were, and 4 great-grandchildren and 3 adults. So we had a real good time. They love it.
The Swiss Chalet. Yeah, that was always my mom's favorite place to go. I used to, when she came to visit, because my mom has since passed on, but she always wanted to go to Swiss Chalet, and I'd always want to take her, let's go to this other nice restaurant. She says, nope. She would look at the prices and then ruin she'd be like, oh, she'd be so upset about it. So I just learned, just go to Swiss Chalet, and, Just,
Well, that's a good spot. They
yeah.
have a children's menu, so the kids can circle the things that they want and tell the waiter what they want, and so it's good all the way around. The food's good too.
Yes. No, it's consistent. It's usually pretty consistent, when
Yeah.
you go there, and that's important with children.
Right.
Now, you also, I guess what was the trigger to thinking about Windsor where I am is that you also do something that there's a lot of people a lot younger that wouldn't think to do this. You'll get in your car and just drive somewhere. So
Yeah.
you were driving to what, Sauble, and then ended up in Tobermory.
That's right. All in one day. It took me 11 hours to drive up there and drive back. But it was great. I really enjoyed it. Got some good pictures too.
Yes.
Still take pictures.
Still take pictures along the way. And you're going to make a trip to Windsor, right?
Well, I might. You never know.
Well, when you come to Windsor, we're going to be taking lots of photos. So
Okay.
Be prepared. There'll be selfies and
Okay.
photos to share.
Sure.
And yeah, it's, when I moved to Windsor, I knew no one. I knew no one at the paper, no one in the city. I packed up and moved down here and thought I would stay here for a year, maybe 2. And never left. My son is now 20, and it's definitely, this is home base, and it's a really cool, it's been a great place because I'm also close to the border. I can pop over and fly
Right.
from the Detroit airport. It takes me maybe 30, 40 minutes to get there, and it's the best airport to get around. I don't like, because I stay away from Toronto airport as much as possible.
No, that's good. It's a good spot, I guess.
It is.
And good for you, so that makes it good.
Yes, it is. So we start at the top of talking about, I always ask people at the end, but we started with that. How do you exercise your curious mind? And, but is there anything else that you would like to say, or anything that maybe some, looking back, words of wisdom for people that are maybe listening in, that any other things you'd recommend or suggest if you're going to live into your 90s and be still jumping in your car and driving, going for 11-hour days?
Yeah, well, I don't know what I should say. As I said before, keep healthy and exercise and walk and keep the brain going. I think that's the important thing. Especially when you retire. Some people retire without any plans in mind, or without any job in mind, or even hobby. And I've always felt, well, it's a good thing that I've been doing genealogy for all these years, because it's given me something to do, and you're always solving problems. And so that's been a good thing to keep active. That's all I got to say.
Okay, well, thank you. And I know you have also a strong faith and spiritual life as well.
Right.
You're right. You're near your church that you go to each week. So
yeah, I can see it right there. I live right behind it.
Good sense of community there as well, I'm sure.
That's right. Yeah. Very good.
That's great. Well, thank you. I really appreciate having you on today. And that, as I said, for anybody listening, I'm talking about live streaming tomorrow on a show, and I'll be using this as an example because, it is about telling and sharing stories, and we never know when our story will have an impact on
That's
someone.
right. Yeah.
And if you don't share, like, maybe I think about you sending those photos, right? And maybe for someone who doesn't have a lot of connection with people, maybe that photo really just resonates with them that day.
Yes.
They get an email from you.
Yeah. Lots of times people will write back and say that they really appreciated the picture, or ask questions about it sometimes, or thank me for saying what I did say about the picture. Sometimes it's just a picture. The other day it was a dog. A lady sent me a picture of her dog, and I put on it, "This must be the boss of the house." And she wrote back and says, "He sure is." So a lot of people like it. So I'm glad of that. So if anybody wants a picture today, let me know.
Okay. anybody who wants to get a picture of the day, send a message to me and I'll connect you up with Mr. Barrett, because he's not on social, but he is on email. And we now communicate by, there he is. So that's BARRE77@gmail.com.
That's it.
So, man, you have good penmanship too.
Oh, well, I took special time to do it. My penmanship is getting worse. Sometimes I say, what does that say? Can't read my own writing.
Well, I am, yet again, you have made, 50, believe it or not. I believe it. You know what? I bet you people don't guess your age when you meet them.
Oh, yeah, I think so.
No, I don't think so. I don't think
Who's that old guy?
No. Talking to you, no. Like I said, I know people 30 years younger than you and I always say this, that when people say, I'm too old for this, and I'm going, you know what, whatever you say will happen. Like, if you think you're old, you'll be old. If you're like, I don't believe it. I go, you know what? I am still, my son and I have this joke about what my indoor age and outdoor age, but I, in my mind, continually to think I'm still, I like somewhere in the 30s, that's where I'm
Well, that's what I say. I'm 39.
Yeah. So, and it is, I got in I went to the gym today now, I didn't want to go this morning because I was like, I got to prepare for this. I've got to do this. And I went and did it's called power barbell class, because it's strict, because I do a lot of cycling and I do yoga and that and Pilates, but I don't really do enough strength training. So I decided, I saw a great quote today about, you become what you build upon. So start building. And I thought, well, if I'm going to want to be strong, I better take a strength-based class too. Sure. So a lot of it's
that's right. Yeah.
Our minds, right? That's what is so valuable. All right, I'm going to have you go to the green room. I know we're going to be having many more talks and share. I'm going to send you some photos as well, and you can say where they came from too with me. And I might even, maybe I'll send I have a photo I'm going to send of the dog that I'm dog sitting that's here next to me right now. And I have a new T-shirt, so I'm going to send it to you. It's a picture of me with the dog, and you have my permission to send it out to your group.
Okay, that's great. Yeah,
I got a new shirt that says "Best Dog Aunt Ever," and I treasure it because I am the best dog aunt ever. So
that's great.
Okay, we'll have you go into the green room, and I'll be there shortly. I'm just going to do my sign off.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thanks, everyone, today for joining in, for the people that took time to comment. And for anybody watching this on replay, please continue to add some comments. I will share them with Mr. Barrett, also known as Dan Barrett. I was brought up that, teachers, you always call them Mr. Miss and no first names. But I will say this. I did see Mr. Barrett when I was in university, and we had connected. And then what happens is, life sometimes happens and you drift away. But I'm so excited that we have reconnected, and I'm able to share a story, share through live stream, the power of mentorship, the power of telling a story, and also the power of connections. And I was glad that Inger stopped by today and dropped in her comments, because our community and the people we connect with, it does make a difference. Those connections are very powerful. So thank you, everybody. And stay tuned. You can check out my other shows. Please subscribe to my channel, because that way you'll know when I do further lives and you can stay connected with me. I have other interesting guests coming out. Some are related to manufacturing, and some are related more to stories like this of personal connections, but they all are about the power of story. Have a great day, everyone.